And we are here excited for this amazing day of League of Legends action. No two series here tonight because we're in the grand finals. No reason to have more than one because it's a best of 5 that is headed our way. Once again, my name is Orbital, and with me is, of course, the best minion to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster, and we will be your casters for this evening for this Legends Division best of 5. RMC, how you feeling today?
Orbital, there's lots of questions I have for both of these teams, and it's an exciting one because here in the Legends Division, it's our top division, and these are our top 2 teams. So let's dive right into the matchup. We have GVU up against Oklahoma Christian University, OCU here. Let's start with GVU because they're coming off a bit of a rough weekend. They just played their grand finals in the MEC, and in case you don't know GVU somehow, they're known as the kings of MEC. Ever since MEC started in 2021, they've always won. Till now, Orbital. So they are looking to find a new home, a new throne, I guess. Perhaps NECC will be it, but up against them, it's the new kids on the block. Oklahoma Christian, they're a university who perhaps most people aren't familiar with. They've really gotten serious about League of Legends this year when they brought in Coach Sneezes from Team Fish Taco, who's been in the NACL. They built a team which has been incredibly competitive, but new. And Orbital, they've been growing throughout this year. Kind of from a bit of rough solo queue players to now a very complete team that seems to play a myriad of styles depending on what sort of draft they want. So it's very exciting to have sort of this new blood facing old royalty.
And I'm excited to see what they can throw down. So let's go ahead and take a look at the players that'll be gracing our screen here today. Starting with GVU, you can go ahead and see it is Strict Proctor in the top lane. Castle in the jungle. Chai Ha In inside of that mid lane also goes by Ginkle. And then it'll be Nightstar at ADC, and then Pluto at support.
So a couple of changes from the old GVU. Let's start talking a little bit about Proctor, because Proctor in the top lane is actually a support who's role swapping to the top lane and has done a great job for the team, usually playing sort of lane nullifiers or utility champions that kind of look up to scale, his most played being that Ornn, of course, in that top side. And Pluto coming in support has been a very interesting one. I think Pluto's a really good roaming support. In lane, it can kind of go either way. And Pluto gives sometimes, Pluto also takes away sometimes. So my eyes are going to be kind of on this bot lane in terms of how I think the early game might go.
And for that, we're going to look over at OC Esports, the other squad that'll be roaming in. A little bit of a team that has a Cinderella-like story, and that's what we're excited to see. It'll be Gorilla Jones in that top lane, Trinket in that jungle, Emps in the mid lane, Josu at ADC, and Paralysis at support.
Yeah, and this roster for OCU is kind of scary, Orbital, because it feels like every single player on this team can pop off and carry at any given time. We've seen Trinket and Emps really pop off together. That mid-jungle duo is very, very strong. In fact, I think Trinket actually changed his name to Emps Cuddle Buddy in game. And I think that tells you a bit about the bond between the two of them there. Gorilla Jones to the top side is an interesting one because he can be a huge lane dominant force. Things like his Darius and his Rumble are definitely things to keep an eye out for, because if he wins that lane, he's very good at transitioning his leads across the map. And the bot lane, Josu and Paralysis. Josu, a player who was actually scouted by Sneezes specifically, and kind of the team was built around this AD carry, and with Paralysis as well, who's been a very strong engage style player for Josu. I mentioned the laning for Pluto and Nightstar can be interesting. Well, Josu and Paralysis laning is very, very strong, and they can generate leads even without jungle pressure. And what's scary as overall is they do that on champions, which teamfight as well. So OCU, they get those early leads, they transition to teamfight, they feel like a bit of a complete package right now.
And that's what's terrifying for them, because not only do they have that style in favor, not only do they have that ability to carry without, any help or any other very specific pieces, they also are looking to complete the Cinderella story. This squad of OCU have a very, very fun, a little storyline that they have made their way through. And of course, we got to take a look at the draft. But go ahead and explain, because I mean, OCU, they've hit some hurdles and they jumped over them.
Yeah, so we mentioned OCU, they're a bit of a newer squad coming in, really started this year. Here in the NECC, this split, they've lost to 3 teams total, and those teams are UCI, Fisher, and Grandview. Orbital, to get here, they took out UCI in, I guess, the lower semifinals bracket, and then they went on to beat Fisher in the lower finals, and now they're here in the grand finals against the last team that beat them, which was Grandview University. They've started the revenge tour, they've taken out everybody. This is their last stop.
And I mean, they're going to give it their best. And then getting into this draft on that blue side, there is one champion that you do have to ban away. This is why we were not too worried about these first bans. This is understood. It's a Lee Sin ban against Castle. You kind of have to. A focus towards that top side. In the secondary, though, as it is going to be a Darius and Rek'Sai ban, the only reason I say it is a top side look is Strict Proctor has a very fun idea of what a champion pool is. The Aatrox still hovering and still focused. Gorilla Jones and Strict Proctor are going to have to be digging deep.
Yeah, as we kind of mentioned, Strict Proctor is role swapping from that support position into the top lane. So the pool, it's not the most aggressive pool. He's not looking to be a big carry. So things like the Ornn we talked about, things like Udira Cassante, you can see that OCU GVU is trying to give the best matchup they can in that top side. They're moving champions who can either just straight outright abuse you in lane, like the Darius, or things like Aatrox that will enjoy the matchup and still scale up to be a big late game threat. We're not seeing the triple ban though. Rumble is still open. I wouldn't be surprised if OC kind of just slammed that Rumble first pick.
And I think this is the big part of it. GVU are kind of gambling on this game number one, which I don't disagree with. It's understood. But that is going to be a Jinx pickup. So this is actually a call down towards that bot side. Nightstar and Pluto getting an early look at what they're going to have to deal with, especially with the Varus ban on that red side. I very much understand it. You sit there and say, hey, look, you can't really let that one through. So you're going to drop down to another hyper carry that's there. That's the Ziggs, though. And this one, that's one of my personal favorites. I'm going to very much enjoy this.
Yeah, Ziggs as well has come up as a counter to Jinx in previous metas when she was really, really strong, which she currently is again. So that could be flex to the bot lane, or it could be mid lane for Jinko there. I personally like it in the bot lane. You can outrange the Jinx with those bombs poked down, and a lot of times we see something with a nice and easy lockdown CC like the Volibear later in team fights. Go stun the Jinx, and then you use that bomb, the Hex Bomb, to just kind of nuke out Jinx in the backline.
Oh, and that's what you were also discussing. I know we're talking about that Jinx versus the Ziggs, but the big one that now has turned our head is this Rumble. We can talk about the Volibear and the Nautilus later, but this Rumble is one that you and I were discussing pretty heavily. You can't give it to Gorilla Jones, or that top lane is pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, it's his most played champion here within the NECC, and one he's incredibly comfortable on. What's terrifying, Orbital, is not only is it one of the best laning top laners, I feel like it has no losing melee matchups right now, but on top of that, the team fight potential with that Equalizer, the hot pot combo is always a big one, you know, things like the J4, it pairs well with the Nautilus, and it goes great into champions who are immobile, like Ziggs. You can't really kind of hop away, run away. Yes, you can put the satchel charge, but that takes time as well. It's just a great pickup right now if you're looking to go for those sort of big 5v5 team fights.
And with that round out, the Nautilus favored in, you do start to build that piece of the puzzle. Taking a look at the idea, though, you look at the Nautilus, or not the Nautilus, the Alistar and that Volibear on the other side, GVU, have to opt for that Silas bin. You cannot give that over to Emps in the mid lane. It is a great way to also help the engage. If you steal that Unbreakable Will, it's frustrating, but the hard target of the mid lane is what is really kind of fun for me. That is a Yasuo, a Silas, and an Orianna total. Are we going to get a fourth? Quite possibly. Maybe. We'll see right there. It is the Azir at the end. 4 bans towards that mid lane.
Wow, huge pinch. Now, Jinko has a massive champion pool in the mid lane, so I'm not too worried about him. I'm going to be honest. I'm not as familiar with Emps, so I'm curious if this will affect Emps, because Emps has played Orianna, Azir, Talia mostly in the NECC. 2 of those bans came from the side of OCU, so I assume that they do have some other options prepared. Orbital, the Ornn coming through from the side of GVU. It's expected for both these teams, and I think with that Rumble pickup, OCU were more than happy to let this one go into the Rumble. Live?
Okay. This is I've not seen an Aurelia in quite some time. I see it in solo queue, not in competitive as much. This is a hard set of things to put on. That is a Ivern. Next up on the list, this is straight up, hey, have at it. Go ham, Aurelia, Jinx, even the Rumble. Have fun with the shields. I'll let you carry the game.
Oh wow. And GVU actually locking in the Tristana as a response, Orbital. Okay, that surprised me. If anything, I actually expected Emps to pick up the Tristana with this composition. I like the fact that you're kind of just picking physical damage in the mid lane to kind of balance out your damage profile between the Rumble and the mid lane. And with something like an Ivern, that actually really enables Irelia to go really hard on these dives and in the sort of 2v2 mid lane dives. But for GVU to pick the Tristana is good for the GVU composition. Now you've got 2 ranged champions. You've got 2 good skilling champions as well. But Tristana in lane against Irelia is a little bit iffy. Tristana very lane dominant champion normally, but up against the likes of assassins like an Irelia. Once, you know, a couple of levels go in, once Blade of the Ruined King is completed for Irelia, at that point, that lane becomes nigh unplayable for Tristana.
It's terrifying to think about, so let's get into it. We are into game number 1, and quite honestly, OCU had drafted pretty dang well. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, one, you get the Rumble that already has our attention, and then in that mid lane, you have the Aurelia to try and take over the game afterwards. And then in the bot side, Jinx and Nautilus, a composition that straight up wants a team fight, at the same time can dominate if OCU come out swinging very hard. It's going to be on GVU, this squad that we've seen before, a squad that we have seen carry a crown on their shoulders multiple different ways, and yet this time around still searching for one this split.
And it's kind of interesting too, because we talk about this underdog story from OCU, how they're on the revenge tour, kind of just taking names and paying back their dues there. But GVU, on the other hand, they have actually not lost a single series that they've played here in the NECC. They have one loss on record, but that was an FF loss from GVU. They didn't actually play that series at all. Besides that, they've not lost a single series. And a lot of that has come from these sort of skill and compositions that we do see GVU picking up. So the fact that OCU kind of went with that early Jinx and just went, hey, we are going to go for late game as well, that's a gauntlet that OCU is throwing down. And if they can win with this composition, Orbital, that kind of messes up GVU's plans a little bit, because that should be the GVU forte.
I mean, we talk about shoulds all day long, but when it comes down to this series, that's the fun part. All these shoulds, these woulds, these coulds turn into ifs, turn into ands, turn into buts. And that's going to be the kind of the fun part of the specified series. Game 1, test your mettle or play your game, whichever you get. Game 2 and 3, start to adjust. And game 4 and 5, if it goes that long, adjust some more. There's always so many different thoughts here, and that's what I'm going to be very excited for. You can already see the jungle pathing starting out. It is going to be in that top side for both as they try and rotate through their own jungle. Of course, in the bot side, that level 2 early means Pluto starting to get chunked out.
And while Alistar is a bit of a counter to the Nautilus, in the early phases of the game, especially pre-level 6, Alistar's not very tanky whatsoever. So Paralysis and Josu really taking advantage of that aggression, of that weakness to turn up the aggression. And you're even seeing the early wards actually come through from Paralysis in the jungle. They want to know where Castle is. I don't think they can actually punish Castle in the jungle, especially with an Ivern jungle yourself. But at least that makes the ganks that much harder and isolates this bot lane for longer.
Go ahead and just the calm, quiet farming, if you will. Of course, at this point, OCU are more like, yeah, we can do that. Already the CS differential in that top side is something that we did expect, personally. Strict Proctor on this kind of lane swap situation. On an Ornn, it's not the worst thing in the world. It still feels bad. Don't get me wrong. Any sort of CS deficit still feels bad. As long as you're not dying and you're still above 60, 70, you're not giving over a lot of plates, I would consider that an okay situation to have. Of course, at the current moment in that mid lane, it's a whole other factor. Ginghall gonna have to jump away here, and that's already a burn on that rocket jump, and that's gonna be the mainstay of that game. OCU, just see if they can get that spell.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the name of the game in the mid game. Can you land the stun as the Irelia? If you can, well, the Tristana's in for a hard time, and I expect to see Trinket, as we mentioned, EM's cuddle buddy right there, to continue showing up in the mid lane, give a little bit love to Emps there. Now, overall, it's also been I've also been told apparently it's not OCU, it's just OC for the side of Oklahoma Christian University.
All right, just OC, the original content creators out there, or something like that. No, OC Esports going to enjoy their time, but I like that little bomb going out here, and Nightstar showing out that they know how to play this combination. Hey, even though Paralysis does pull in, if you can zone out that ADC, Nautilus isn't too worried. Of course, in this top side, it's Strict Proctor to now lose their flash. And this continuous pressure is going to be laid down. Nightstar, though, already eating the zap and a flash out of Paralysis. The Ignite is oh so low, but you're still alive. Pluto trying to get away. Hook should be up in just a few seconds, but the traps do not land, which is surprising as heck considering, but that is a hook around the fattest part of the wall, and you get it. A Josu grabs first blood.
And this bot lane duo, we'll have to talk about later, is Castle? Might not even get the assist.
Holy moly, Strict Proctor laying down the slam with this. Ornn gets first blood against this Rumble. Listen, you were telling me that the Rumble is strong. What is this?
Yeah, should be.
Oh boy, I was watching it. I was like, no way you dive this. But I guess M said yes. Very fair.
And TP available for both mid laners. They'll be right back at it. Orbital, I still want to talk about the top side because what happened there? It's not just the Rumble who should win Orbital. Again, Strict Proctor is role swapping from support to top lane. And it felt like every time we looked up there, he's down CS, he's kind of getting pushed in, shoved in. And seemingly out of nowhere, Proctor able to find the solo onto Gorilla Jones. That's massive. Now, the big problem is, of course, the kill's a kill. But the question is, can you keep doing it? If not, I expect to see Gorilla Jones continue to shove in, get that lane priority. But if he does it again, Orbital, ooh, that really spices up the top side.
And you're going to enjoy that. For the likes of Strict Proctor, someone that we have mentioned needs to have a pretty good start, needs to be able to reach that mid to late game, start pumping out those ornaments. You're going to very much enjoy that. In this mid and bot side, though, we are turning around and watching. That is going to be a jump forward. Pluto with that Hextech Flash straight in their face is going to try and lay down the damage. The burst is already down from Nightstar, who was not able to really get any extra items behind it. You can see didn't have that first blood, so as much damage as Paralysis was going to take, it's not too bad. A little bit of a Duke now in that mid lane as it's going to be a jump. M's getting locked out, and that's a huge catch. Pluto trying to Hextech Flash and get a little bit spicy with it. Paralysis knocked out of the tower, and with no flash, that is GVU to start off strong here in the early game.
That's a clean CC chain coming through from Nightstar and Pluto there. And Orbital feels like both these bot lanes right now, whoever's on the aggressive has to be careful about that. We saw earlier Pluto taking a turret shot when it was the side of GVU playing up and aggressively there. So yeah, we expected to see a fight. Orbital, I expect to see it later on, but already in the laning phase, you're seeing the teams go toe to toe and no one's given an inch.
Oh man, I'm just this is game one, right? This is game one. We even get a replay of this. I love this. By the way, you don't normally see this type of setup straight in front of your face, but it's just so clean. I love it. I love every single moment of that.
Yeah, and the knockback, the headbutt from Pluto into the satchel charge. Like, Paralysis knew you're dead to rights. You already used the flash earlier. Strict Proctor, great dodge out from Gorilla Jones.
It's scary to hear that Gorilla Jones has to burn that flash, though. That is a situation. And remember, we talked about the fact that this is one of Gorilla Jones' most played champions. If you can lock it down in game number one, and not just lock it down, but lock it down strongly and say, hey, you can't really play it, that's a huge piece of the puzzle actually gone. It's a mental kind of aspect to the game and the entire series. Hey, we left that open specifically because we have an answer. And then all of a sudden, it's actually OC that has to sit there and go, hey, we have to figure out a certain option to have. At the current moment, though, GVU, they may have the kills, they may have a gold lead by only 500, but the global advantages have actually gone the way of OC.
Yeah, and for OC2, the nice thing about Rumble is even if you don't win the lane, which you are somewhat expected to, you still have a lot of early mid-game strength with that Equalizer ultimate. As long as you can rotate Gorilla Jones to a team fight with any sort of AoE CC, it still should be OC winning that one. Now, the problem is what happens later into the game, because you don't pick Ornn to win your lane. You pick it to skill up, pick it for the ornaments, the masterwork items that come through starting at the level 13 mark. And yeah, there's absolutely no stopping that from coming through from Strict Proctor other than just ending the game before that.
You can even see that in that mid lane. It's a nice little dance. One of the things that I really did want to point out is Jinko is pretty adept at that buffering on that rocket jump. It's one of the big important pieces of the puzzle whenever you play at Tristana. You do want to make sure that you have that right buffering timing. That's a huge point of contact. But now we're seeing this top side. It's just a gank for gank's sake. As I mean, Gorilla Jones, you don't really have anywhere to go. And it's just a cooked yodel in a bucket.
Jeez.
It's Strict Proctor to grab a second.
And Castle has been 100% success rate on these ganks so far. We haven't talked too much about Castle on this Volibear, but when you run a Volibear jungle, you do need to start getting sort of that early pressure down. The scaling of Volibear is not great. You just kind of become a bit of a meat shield later on, a bit of a stun bot later on in those later team fights. So it's huge that Castle's getting the action. And more importantly too, Trinket hasn't been getting in on the action. We've seen some attempted ganks into the mid lane, but it hasn't panned out. Whereas you can see Castle, Volibear, it's just so easy to gank as well, right? Like, you can just see kind of the chase down. Gorilla Jones' Equalizer is really well placed to try and buy as much space and time as possible. But you burnt Flash earlier, and look at the map situation. There's no backup coming anywhere close. Trinket, he's M's cuddle buddy, not Gorilla Jones's cuddle buddy.
That hurts. That hurts to hear. It's just amplifying the top lane sadness of being alone. And Strict Proctor's like, not for me. I'm having a great time. I got buddies all over the place. And it's good to see. We mentioned this top side would be a huge point of focus, and it's happening again. Gorilla Jones, for the fourth time this game, is getting ganked. Finally gets a shield, but a jump forward with a rocket that might put a bit of a dangerous spot just outside of tower range, though, is the Tristana. Jingle gonna try and run for safety, but you don't, and it's Daisy to get the kill. Trinket with the Trinket kill is happy to carry on forward. Strict Proctor may be tanky, but doesn't have the damage. Strict Proctor is going to have to peel off. Pluto is here for a little bit of help, but my gosh, what a difference. Is this going to be a turnaround? You got rooted and then
Daisy!
no, not going to go through. Daisy! Daisy, do it! Daisy with the shutdown! Flash out by Trinket. No way you get that kill. The Ivern, the Lord of the Jungle, lives.
And it's perfect timing as well. Gorilla Jones using the TP, going to be back in lane to actually catch the wave, which didn't crush because of Daisy and all the action that was happening right there. Orbital out of nowhere. OC pulls out the equalizer. And right here, I was worried. You know, I was thinking, hey, gorillas are endangered animals. We need to protect them. But who else but Trinket on that protector of the jungle coming in? The shield is enough. And unfortunately for Jinko, just not enough damage at the end. The shield was there. And from then on out, it's Daisy's, Joe. You can see Trinket, Gorilla Jones, they're just buying space, distracting Proctor. The one who's doing all the damage is Daisy.
I love that fact, by the way. Daisy is one that we've seen have some fun. Just watching this beatdown occur is one of the most feels bad moments in League of Legends. It's the same as if you had, I don't know, what is it? Like a Nami just auto-attacking you in the back. It feels bad. It's hilarious to watch, though. And that is
bro, Daisy wins that. Daisy wins that. 1v1 any day.
True, true. We are watching this, though, and that is a big shift back in OC's favor. They needed those kills. They needed those chances to kind of have a filter back in that top side. Granted, it's not kills into that Rumble, but it's enough space. Remember, at this current moment, Gorilla Jones does have a very strong CS lead, so as long as you get this lane back under control, you give Gorilla Jones that space needed, you can still become that massive mid to late game team fighter.
True. And we mentioned before, you know, the Rumble ult is really where it's all at. The fact that you're not behind items is kind of a big deal. Speaking of objectives, though, and team fights, Gorilla Jones, that's another flash blown early.
I think that's just a lot of respect being given over right now. Is it warranted? That's to be decided, but I mean, considering that you knew that Trinket wasn't going to be around, Trinket did go ahead and gather the 3 that just came up of those grubs. You are now available to push waves very hard. It's nice to have. Emps, of course, in that mid lane, getting run away as Castle is having such an aggressive early game. The pressure being mounted in top, mid, and bottom is almost giving way to the second dragon being in the way of GVU.
It should, Orbital, but we are seeing a Josu and Paralysis actually push back out right now. And I think because of all the topside shenanigans, OC has had time to kind of reset. Trinket is in the area, and Emps has Blade of the King completed, is starting to get a lot control over that mid lane as well. So suddenly this second Drake becomes a lot more contested. And we kind of didn't touch on it earlier, but OC picked up first Drake. So dragon stacking is a potential win con for OC before GVU can fully come online. GVU probably should have had that first Drake with the control they had in the bot and mid lane, or more in the bot lane. Mid was kind of even. And the fact they didn't get it then does make the second one a little bit, or it should make it risky. I keep saying should because where's OC? OC should have been in the area. They were pushing, but they paced.
Remember what we said about would, should, could? That's literally this game in a nutshell.
Yeah,
they should be here. They could be here, but they're not. And because of that, GVU get a completely uncontested and unknown dragon. It is going to be a rocket from downtown, but it's so late in the game, or it's so late in taking, that you're just fine. At the current moment, this pacing has allowed a 1 dragon apiece lead to make way for the Hextech Soul one that I personally love so much.
And I kind of like this as well from a viewer perspective, because with Hextech Soul, of course, teams are more willing to fight, and this also kind of gives GVU a bit more scaling time, right? If they had lost a second Drake, their Drake becomes a lot dicier. That becomes a must-fight Drake almost for the side of GVU. Jinko able to dodge out the stun again. I don't think we've seen really any of the stuns hit in a meaningful way in that mid lane so far. Every time it does land, Trinket's not in the area.
For that reason alone, it feels like this Tristana pick is actually getting a lot of value. Jinko has been able to stay in favor of CS. You know, that Aurelia will pop off mid to late. We're sure it's going to be a big carry threat. at the current moment, you're fine. Not only that, you completed your goal with not any issue, which I think is pretty nice. Bot side, we're seeing that flash come out here. Josu saying, cool, you flash, I flash, and now I gotta stay way behind turret. It's whatever. This is to be understood because Paralysis did decide to roam away.
These flashes are not equal, bro. Pluto has Hex Flash, so that can still be the play they want to look for. TP actually coming in behind.
I was not expecting this. This is going to be a jump in. Gorilla Jones dropping down this Rumble Ultimate. The Equalizer denying an opportunity. Is a 5-man gank to the bot side. I say 5 because you saw Trinket on that edge. Big pickups, though, as it's a lot of gold into a Josu's pocket.
Yeah, and the push from Strict Proctor and Ginkle, they are going to get... Actually, Ginkle, no, of course, that's a Tristana. Is it a mistake, though?
Good. That's what I was waiting for. That's going to be the buster shot to keep yourself alive. Wow, but Castle went straight to the bottom lane. Gets a kill, but no extra help, meaning this could be turned around. No route to come out, though, as Castle goes ahead and secures that 1 kill. Even though you pick up an extra, it will not be anymore a Josu. Not going to be enjoying that one, but Bax picks up that Kraken Slayer. Pretty happy.
And considering how everything went down, granted, we are past the 14-minute marks. There was no plates for Jinkle or Proctor on those pushes. You trade 1 for 2. And normally that would favor OC because they were the ones to pick up 2 kills. But I think if you actually take that mid lane turret down, which is very likely, you're seeing Jinkle push up once again. That is a Tristana. She pushes incredibly quickly. If you can take that turret, it's much more worth it for GVU in terms of firstly buying time, or secondly just buying more map space to set up plays. I do think that they can be very, very obnoxious. Nightstar, with the Seraphim base completed already, can poke out significantly at this point in the game.
And it's going to feel very oppressive as well. That poke leads into the siege, leads into extra gold for that team. The composition for GVU is starting to come together. It's starting to be allowed to play their game of scale up, hit that mid to late, start grouping up and being that team fight monster. We've yet to see OC be able to do the same. We've yet to see them really start showing their stuff. We've seen pieces. We have seen pieces. That TP to the bot side was nice. But with the Dragon coming up at about 1:45, I'm curious to see if that's what they're actually going to go for. Pluto now running into a little bit of interference as Paralysis says, hey, I got something. And even Daisy came out for a bit of a trade. Other than that, though, it's not too much. Wow, that hook landed. That is crazy to see.
Yeah, and the rocket even coming out. It was not for the kill threat, just to kind of push them out and maybe a potential dive to come through. Equalizer is available, and they're actually going to drop the Herald here.
It's big. I like this call. You go ahead and shove in. Unfortunately, you can't rotate into any of the other objectives, but you do run into Strict Proctor, who the teacher is taking out. Paralysis smited up and away, but it doesn't matter. Equalizer goes down, and Vanguard's edge comes out as well. That'll be the burn and the finish as Emps gets a kill far under tower. I don't normally see that, but it's a double kill for the Aurelia.
No, and I think GVU might have messed up a little bit by trying to defend that mid lane turret so hard. Unfortunately, if Proctor was there, Orbital, maybe GVU can actually defend that and have the threat of sort of the return engage. But the moment Proctor got picked in rotation, yeah, Castle alone isn't enough to kind of hold that, and they didn't respect the damage and range that Josu was able to put out. Emps is more than happy to just go diving to clean that up, and what felt like a GVU-sided play to start with that mid lane going down is immediately answered by OC.
Here's the nice part, though. You keep the gold somewhat even. It's not the end of the world for GVU. Not only that, you burn the TP out of Emps, meaning Emps has to run all the way down for this Dragon. So OC are kind of banking on the fact that, hey, we have a strong 4v4, especially with Gorilla Jones, and especially even more so if we poke Pluto out. Pluto dropped down to about 75%. You do almost have that Unbreakable Will, which you're going to be able to use, but Castle now jumping into the mix. Already a call on the rotate. Emps is here to join, and it looks like GVU are very, very late. The Skybringer does literally nothing but just fall, and Gorilla Jones gets that shutdown. Pluto flashing over the wall means OC have flown the coop, and they will have a Dragon to their name. Strict Proctor launches, but not far enough away. The Ornn goes down for the second time alone.
And again, woulda, shoulda, coulda, but didn't. Right? We're talking about the fact that GVU have TP advantage, half the team fight strength. Doesn't matter. And now Jinkle able to hop over that wall on fractions of health. Emps.
So close. Okay. I was wondering about that. You do have the gate. You're safe. You're out.
Okay.
It still feels bad. You had set Jinkle on the side to try and farm up extra waves and try and get this extra pressure and basically make these sacrifices worth it. It's not working right now.
No, and The large part of the problem is because Jinko wants space and time alone in that top side, but you're not giving it to him elsewhere from GVU. And granted, Castle's the one who hops out of the bush, but I'm going to tell you right now, it did not matter if Castle started that. It's GVU overextending, and Strict Proctor was still way back in lane when this kicks off. So what should have been an easy collapse for GVU, what should have been a numbers advantage with the TP they had, what should have been a 5v4, ends up being a 4v3 to start. And once you get one kill, it's so easy for OC to just turn around and keep playing that numbers advantage game. Now, they did also pick up the Dragon while all that happened. It's not that important yet overall because it's only second Drake, but it is starting to stack. And if GVU are still behind gold at that fourth Drake, now we've got problems.
Scary thought to have. Right now, OC starting to build up their lead and starting to rotate it into Baron control. You can see a couple wards being dropped. Pink ward in that river brush. Rocket from far end. Or not a rocket, a bomb there. I think Inferno Bomb is nice to have. And on the bot side, it's still the likes of Jinko. And I'm really just watching this as Pluto looks to get caught again. There is no flash. I don't know where Pluto is going. It's just another simple death. Fourth of the game.
Oh, bro, that's where Pluto's going. Lost his way back. I guess that was less than 8 seconds, but there is a high cost for that particular back. As you mentioned, you know, going back with no sort of wreckers. We are past the 20-minute mark, and sure, Castle's still up. Strict Proctor is up, but it's kind of a risky one for GVU to try and contest. I'm looking for a hero steal from Castle here.
And not going to be giving Gorilla Jones melting through that bear. It's hunting season and then some blades to slice them up. Emps carries on in a killing spree. All of a sudden, OC look in perfect control. Driver's seat and all as they claim the Baron.
And we do see Nightstar and Jinko trying to push out as much as they can. Find some gold in a negative Baron power play, ideally, to start for OC. But Emps soloing out Proctor here.
At that point, you said Bork as well as a little bit of the Sundered in the top. This is, this just feels bad. Bro just wants to farm. All he wants to do is play the game. Not allowed.
No. And you think of how well Proctor played the early game, and this is the reward he gets. That's really painful to see for the side of GVU. And overall, the fact that Emps can kind of solo out Proctor is an issue as well, because it does mean that the split push win con that they were trying to set up with Jinko is not going to work. Or second recall.
Oh, I love this. I love this call right now. M said, yo, you're not going to get away for free. I'm going to hold 4 on the top side, and we're going to take mid lane tower as well. This Baron power play is working wonders for the side of OC right now. You can even rotate towards his bottom lane. That would be a total of, I think, 4 towers in call. I don't know if Emps took out that top outer as well, but that's at least 3 in this Baron.
Yeah, and potentially 4 as they go for this bot side inner turret as well. GVU, their recalls are the full 8-second recall compared to the empowered recall that OC has. And yeah, with a Josu there, that's going to be at least 4 turrets.
So easy. So easy. And for OC, Oklahoma Christian University, they are looking strong right now. If you're GVU, your game plan is supposed to come online right now. Your entire composition at this point, 23.5 minutes in the game, you're supposed to be online. You're supposed to be good to go. Is it actually here? Do they still have a fighting chance, you think? Or is this just like, is this done?
It's kind of tough, too, because we did see GVU try and pull the trigger on some of these plays, and they kind of backfired. I feel like their composition with the Ziggs and the Tristana, while yes, it is very good and very effective at taking turrets quickly, I'm not sure split pushing was unfortunately the right call for them against the likes of an Irelia, and I need to see them play front to back before I can make that call, but they are down 6,000 gold, so right now, they would definitely lose a straight front to back against a very fed Jinx, against a fed Irelia who can just go backline diving.
Not only that, a fed Rumble at this point. 2-2 and 6 with a Medjai's. I'd call that fed at this point. It is time to have that jump. Nightstar losing their flash early on, but this Baron push is real. Tower's going to fall in less than 5 seconds, and that's going to unleash Emps to try and get a stun down. In goes Equalizer just to force him off, and OC are saying we don't even have to fight. We can just put pressure down and we get those kills. Paralysis might be that sacrificial lamb, just as Pluto was before, but this one you gain so much more tower and inhibitor. Pretty much for free. OC gonna set up for this dragon. In the top side though, we do see the likes of Jinko grabbing that extra tower, but no inhibitor. Gonna turn around. Castle walks straight into the face of death. No chance to do anything. Pluto on the Unbreakable Will. You may be unbreakable, but you're still probably dead. TP is coming in to continue the fight as in comes Jinko. Jinko gonna try their best, but Strict Proctor on the top side is still sliced. It's a myriad of kills. This is a double for a Josu. And screw the dragon now. We can just look for the end.
Yeah, the only one standing is Nightstar, unfortunately. And sure, Ziggs has great wave clear, but that's a super minion in your base. You can see how little damage it took from that Mega Inferno bomb. And here's the final push coming through. Nightstar, can you find anything? I doubt it.
No, it's Nightstar, lights out. Night is here, as it is going to be OC to take game number 1 in a very quiet end, I hate to say. We had the jungle fight. It was there, but it didn't feel crazy. It felt like just the final nails in the coffin. OC looking strong.
And OC played that mid game incredibly well. That's why it feels like we went out with a bit of a whimper, because the bang was in the mid game, and OC just capitalized on it. And that's what's scary, Orbital. I want to highlight once again, Grandview did a great job in the early game. Proctor especially. Yes, you were down CS, but you found kills. You actually walked out even, and that's all you can ask for an Ornn. Mid lane, Jinko did such a good job surviving the Irelia pressure, even after she got the Blade of the Ruined King. Castle was applying pressure everywhere. Nightstar and Pluto kind of went even as well on the bot side, which again is fine when you're playing a Ziggs into a Jinx. But the mid game, it just felt like OC collapsed faster, started working better as a team quicker. And we said before, GVU, they're a late game team. I don't know if you can afford to do that against teams like OC.
And so taking a look at this game number 2, RMC, I want to put it to you. You've seen them play in NECC before. GVU, you had mentioned before, you and I had discussed, hey, there's a possibility that they are going to shift things up. They are going to look at a little different angle, but it was a little bit too late in that series. Do we see them shift for game number 2, or do we see them still try and run the same type of composition in game 2, still try it their way before having to swap?
So here's the problem, World. We didn't get to see the GVU way come through because I do think they made a couple of missteps in the mid game. So on one hand, I feel like they would want to try their usual style one more time just because game 1 felt more like a mess up than a misdraft or anything like that. However, as you said, in the NECC, we just watched that this last weekend. The grand finals, they kind of got slammed, and by the time they tried to change up their style, it was game 3, their backs were up against the wall, they were down 0-2. I would rather see them try and change up the style now before their backs up are up against the wall, because OC is also a very high variance team. But when they're feeling themselves, when they start getting that confidence flowing, this team looks unstoppable. So you want to hit them off ASAP.
All right, well, there you go. Let's go ahead and see if both teams can make those adjustments. OC already 1-0 in this series in a very commanding game 1. See if GVU can hit back or if we're going to see a 2-0 situation. Please don't go anywhere. The NECC. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the NECC after what is a surprising game for the NECC. Normally we see a lot of blood. Normally we see a lot of gore. Normally we see a big fantastic explosion. I mean, we have a Ziggs for Pete's sake. We have a Jinx for Pete's sake. I want to see the pentakills. But we had a quiet, dominant game from OC, and surprisingly enough, the second on top, it wasn't from the Rumble. In that top side, it was the entirety of OC coming together in that mid to late to decimate the likes of GVU.
And I feel like we did see explosions, Orbital, but it was rather one-sided, which is unusual. We've seen GVU play before. This is not what we expect of them, and for that, I give huge props to OC, because their mid-game was immaculate, and that raises a lot of problems for GVU, because now if you can't get to the late game, which has been your bread and butter all split long, then what are you going to do? I have to see changes coming through from the... Well, I don't have to. Like I said, I think they made a couple of mistakes in the mid-game that got heavily punished. But I would really very much like to see GVU change up their style a little bit.
I would love to as well. So let's go ahead and get into that second game as quickly as possible. I know the players were excited to do so as well. And it looks like we do have a side swap. GVU are going to be on that blue side. A little bit of a change up. Keep in mind, last time we saw the Darius, the Aatrox, and the Varus all banned away. Now, if you want to leave that Varus up on the table, you absolutely can to carry it on that blue side. But is that really what they want to do? For the side of OC, they looked at that Lee Sin, the Rek'Sai, and the Rel. All three champions that I wouldn't be upset to still see banned away.
You know what? I agree with you, Orbital. I do think the Varus is something that if you're on the side of GVU, you want to leave open and pick it yourself. Nightstar and Pluto can be lane dominant. I've seen them do it before, and the Varus is a champion that it's easier to do that and still have that scaling power if you want to run that lethal tempo build, or you could go full lethality as well. You think it makes sense in that sort of matchup. Whereas for OC, I think you're running back the kind of same bands there, the Lee Sin, the Rek'Sai, and even the Rel, because I think Rel is a perfectly good B1. You can blind it, you can... Well, I don't know if you can still flex it. She did get pretty heavily nerfed in the jungle. So maybe you kind of let that one, or you wouldn't. If you banned a blue side, I expect to see a banned red side.
The one that I'm actually going to be very surprised about, I don't think GVU have to ban out the Rumble either. The Rumble itself was... It seemed like they did have an answer for the side of GVU, which I'm very, very impressed at. It's something that we ourselves were very curious about. And I actually like this a lot more. The Ivern had a lot of impact in saving that top side specifically. Whenever we saw the like of Trinket enter a lane, we knew things were going to get a little bit haywire-y. So I respect this ban a lot. Now the question is, will OC actually still go for that Rumble depending on the matchup? That's what I'm curious about. If you still feel confident, which I think you should, no reason to not. GVU still waiting for their first pickup here. I'm interested to see what they go for. A lot of options on that table. It is going to be that Varus that we talked about.
Okay, like we expected, I think it's a really solid first pick, Orbital, and it leaves your options open in terms of what you want to draft, right? Varus fits into pretty much every composition, just like he fits almost every AD carry build. Now, let's talk about the Rumble a little bit, because I do think the Rumble is still playable. And if anything, I do think Gorilla Jones kind of fixed his sort of early laning mistakes into Proctor. So I think the laning phase should go better for him. And his team fighting was still really, really strong. We saw that Equalizer come through quite a few times to stop the likes of Grandview being able to engage. So sure enough, we see that. The Jinx as well being picked up. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I think all those picks they kind of ran so far are still viable at this point. It's really what GVU picked that might then change the draft.
And I like this call. Hey, listen, we had a little bit of trouble trying to get into the mix and also having an out. The Alistar, Pluto did not have the greatest time, and I think that was a fallout of the game itself. Got caught a few times. We were talking about some of those deaths that just seemed a little bit awkward. The Rakan has so many more outs for your team, and I really do appreciate that. Now with the cover on the top side, if this Gragas is going to that top lane, I'll be very interested to see how that plays out. A little bit of shift, AP versus AP.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot from Proctor. If you're able to find those kills on the Ornn, I think it's easier to find them on the Gragas, and the disengage power from the Gragas I think is going to be really important. I like the fact that you've gone Gragas and Rakan. Both of them, as you said, have outs. So there's already a lot more margin of error for this GVU team for whatever mid and jungle they want to opt for. We're still seeing the Nautilus because, hey, nothing so far on the side of GVU has necessitated a change of plan from the side of OC. Sure, Gragas might look for the disengage and reset the fight on a Rumble Equalizer, but the Nautilus will be there to kind of set that up anyways, and the Rumble is already blind picked. So I like what we're seeing. Also, now waiting for mid jungle from the side of OC.
And I like this. The tempering of that mid lane switch up, the Emps, Aurelia, not going to be given over. I can really appreciate this one. I think mid to late, it had a lot of pushing power that was actually able to stop the Tristana in the tracks. So the adjustments are being made. Of course, I still think EMS is going to have a wonderful time no matter what champion you put them on. They looked very good. But this is now a flex into the jungle. Go ahead and ban away another easy engage. This is something that we actually didn't see in game number 1. No ban of the J4. The hot pot combo you cannot allow to go through into the lower bracket pick phase. Very nice ban there as well.
Yeah, I mean, they allowed it last game, so I'm actually surprised that they're banning it this one. But I think it's more that Varus really doesn't have any mobility, so you want to avoid things that can get onto him. Now, this is surprising to me a little bit overall. I was wondering if OC would go for Tristana, go for double marksman plus the Rumble. I think that's a very, very strong combo. Instead, they've blinded the Talia, which is, okay, she's got a lot of utility. She doesn't have a lot of bad lane matchups necessarily, but they're leaving counterpick for jungle, which to me, it's an interesting role to kind of leave counterpick to.
It's for me, it's the same as support, leaving it open, but the Corki to come out here to have a little bit of that long range value, I still like this. But the Xin Zhao, what are you actually going to answer with it? That's the question. Xin Zhao has a lot of really nice situations. That's a Bel'Veth. Oh my god. Okay.
Okay, I mean, I knew Trinket played it in solo queue. I just haven't seen it for a while. It kind of just slipped my mind that Bel'Veth is an option. And hey, if you're talking about jungle counter picks, I do like that. Xin Zhao often picked into Jinx because Crescent Guard blocks the damage from coming through when Jinx is outside that circle. And if you're inside the circle, you're within hitting range of that Xin Zhao. So you do want somebody short range who can actually get in there and still threaten through that Crescent Guard. Bel'Veth will do just that. She scales incredibly well, can be a carry within her own right. But the Corki orbital, I think that was a good answer to Talia. I was just saying Talia doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. She doesn't have a lot of counters necessarily. Range could be one of them. With the Corki, you'd outrange the Talia. The laning phase is not so comfortable for the Corki, but you don't pick Corki for the laning anyways.
Nope, you do not. And you also stay out of the way of the Unraveled Earth and everything of the sort. But we are on to the Rift for game number 2. The players wasted no time. And it's just weird seeing Bel'Veth. I'm sorry, I have not seen a Bel'Veth in ages personally, and it's just very fun and refreshing. I love the fact that OC were the ones to actually dive into a little bit of a difference. Remember, last time it was Ivern, much more supportive, much more, hey, we are going to play smart. I'm going to back you guys up. You guys carry the game, and that's all it is. At this point, all eyes should be on Trinket in that jungle role. Emps should be helping out by roaming out and everything of the sort. So many little things going to be played off of this game number 2. GVU, for their sake, want this to go their way.
And I think back to last game where we saw Trinket on the Ivern. That's not necessarily a champion you get very aggressive on. But I think with Bel'Veth, despite the nerfs she got fairly early in the season to her early game, I still think she's a really good ganker. And I'm looking at the lanes as well that GVU have. They are gankable. Mid's probably the hardest one to gank on that Corki, but Varus, that bot lane, that's a vulnerability you can look for. Gragas up top as well might be looking to trade in on that window, on windows on Rumble. And again, is somebody you can kind of look to take down with the damage that Rumble puts early. Castle, though, is sitting in a bush, and I kind of like this. I think the Xin Zhao wins at that level 1 fight.
Oh, good smite away. Did get the big. So it's a little bit of a trade, 2 for 2. You can see it there, but now ganking in the mid lane and disaster striking as there's no way out. A final stone to throw, and that's Emps to emp over that mid lane. Unfortunate for Jinkle.
Yeah, that's really painful to see. First Blood going over to Emps as well will make that lane harder to play. And unfortunately, I think Jinkle just not respecting the fact that Paralysis might have been waiting in the area as well. Was desperate to go and help out Castle, get that early kill. And now it's kind of backfired. Thankfully for Castle, though, Castle is okay. And Castle can be the great equalizer. Xin Zhao, one of the stronger early game champions when looking for duels and for ganks.
I think it's fair. At the same time, we're not sure if we're actually going to see that value come through. We notice how OC was able to almost tailor that mid to late in their favor, even when from behind. So, see how GVU decided to play it out. Both junglers now starting on a little bit of opposite sides. After that early duel, it is going to be blue buff for both. And then they're going to try and roam back out top side, though. Gorilla Jones and Strict Proctor are dueling out like their HP bars are non-existent. I already like that, and that scares me. Normally, if it's 50% on both tanks, it's fine, it's whatever. With somewhat squishy champions, I'm always scared of an all-in and someone trying to layer down the kill.
I'm actually curious, too, if we see Trinket kind of go for the invade on the jungle side, knowing that you pushed out Castle early. If you do that, then Gorilla Jones needs to play a lot more carefully. Now, though, it doesn't look like that's the case. Trinket is hitting towards that top side of the map. And if that's the case, then you want to see Gorilla Jones get down an early ward just to make sure you don't get tanked before Trinket can get up there.
Of course, with the enjoyment of Strict Proctor saying, hey, I know where the enemy jungler is, same on the side of OC. There is no help on the top side. Instead, you're going to collapse, and Castle with Flash is going to jump and actually jump on Gorilla Jones. I actually kind of like this, but a flash forward from Strict Proctor leaves Castle in a vulnerable spot, and a flash knockup means Castle, you went too far. Their own over-eagerness to get a kill leads to their downfall.
Oh, well, the line between genius and a huge mistake is very, very fine. And Gorilla Jones walked it perfectly. I was so worried for him walking that way when you knew Castle was behind you. You know that Xin Zhao does an incredible amount of damage in the early game. But he had to burn Flash. But the calls in from Trinket and Emps were good. They managed to get there. They get the collapse, and they get yet another kill. This time onto Castle, slowing him down, I think will have a lot of repercussions for Grandview's early game. Oh.
Not only that, Gorilla Jones just trying to push this wave out. Strict Proctor has more than enough to kind of wait it out. But I mean, you get through the minion wave. I think that's going to be enough. Shield is up. Auto attack is done. And Strict Proctor gets a freebie. I'm pretty sure Gorilla Jones had more than enough time to run. But hey, to each their own.
Let me double check something here. Gorilla Jones, 6 games of Rumble, the regular season most played champion. It doesn't feel like it. Last game, already kind of losing that lane against Ornn surprised me. You can tell you're not going to win it. The burst damage is way too massive for you to do anything. And Gorilla Jones could actually have walked away when that huge minion wave was stacked. Instead, you opted to stay there and give over a kill for seemingly no reason.
And now we're seeing another chance here. Strict Proctor does not have TP. It's an attempt to kind of keep Strict Proctor here. Take a look at how much time is being burned, though, because Castle is on the other side, ready to make a play. And it's looking like it's way more impactful. Huge wave crashing for Nightstar and Pluto. So this is now about a 30 seconds invested to the top side, where almost nothing is granted. Strict Proctor, if you clear this wave, do you hit level 6? That's my question. You're going to dance and get a belly slam, and you're going to turn the kill as well. It's a 1-for-1 that I think lands in GVU's favor by a mile.
Yeah, a bit of a sunk cost fallacy, and part of me just wonders how much of that came from that death from Gorilla Jones, that, maybe he's the one call and say, hey, Trinket, I need this gank. I need you to help equalize my lane. I need to bounce back. But instead, Gorilla Jones gets only an assist. Proctor gets another kill, and as you rightfully mentioned, Ejosu got zoned out bot wave, 2 waves away from Ejosu, and that's your jinx. That's your hyper carry in this bot lane, and you're up against a Varus who's running Halo Blades, who's already annoying and tough enough to deal with in the early game. GVU are more than happy with how that trade went.
Feels so good. Also, considering how game number 1 went, you started out with a somewhat successful lead. You had some early game presence, especially for Castle, who was ganking pretty much all over. This time around, you haven't as much. Not only that, we're past that 6-minute mark, where I think last time we saw the early grudge be taken as well as the Dragon behind. So for GVU, you're okay at the situation. I want to see them also be able to collect one of the global objectives instead of giving both over to the opponent, because it's only 2-3. It's only about a 800 gold difference. Not the worst thing in the world.
Sure. And now that you mentioned that as well, Orbital, one thing we probably should talk about is the scaling for both of these teams. I might not get a chance to, as Trinket is looking down here. Oh,
Mia piercing arrow. Oh, very nice minion in front, but Nightstar realizing things are a little bit dire. No flash on that trinket, but they're gonna get under the tower. But in comes that wall, double flash over the wall as Emps is running on the different side. Nightstar though gets sniped away, and it's a beautiful shot to be had. Now Blue getting drawn into the fray, and this is the OC that we saw in game number 1. Clean 2-0.
Yeah, if anything, this is the OC we expected to see. Orbital. Last game, it was the mid game. We're only 7 minutes in, and that was a clean execute on the bot side. Sure, Emps did have to burn flash to get away and make sure that he didn't drop to turret aggro, but Emps also picked up more kills and is now 3-0 with that Dark Seal.
We're actually gonna get a replay, I think, here. It's gonna be real nice. Like this was beautiful here. No one getting too far out. That first minion pull though scared me.
Yeah, and that's how good this dive was, that despite not having the hook available, they didn't need it. That's the margin of error they had. And Trinket here, just kiting kind of around the edge of the turret, was huge, because that allows Ejosu to go in and actually get that last shot off, sets up this kill as well. Now, the unfortunate part was Emps actually moved in a little bit too early. It taken a second longer. It would have been minion stacking.
We are getting hot dropped into another battle, as in the live we're seeing another Pluto starting to burn down, Castle getting run out. OC won, the bot side are now going to win this mid. It's a 1-for-2 trade so far though, as GVU are actually in the driver's seat. Gorilla Jones can't do too much else, as this is gonna be the mid lane Jinko looking for more. That's a double kill. But it's only an even setup. How many more rockets do you actually have? Barrel's gonna land quite well. Rocket sneaking around, but the shield is up. So you are going to survive. Overall, I think, though, it was a 2-for-2 heavy wave for the side of GVU to push it.
M's back in, able to clear this one. I don't know what happened there, bro. I'm assuming they went for point grub and they met up. Like, that was crazy. Bot lane.
Oh, this is going to be good, but Nightstar realizing you might not have enough damage. The Q going to be flashed and not going to be unleashed in time. This is Trinket, the Bel'Veth that we talked about, starting to gain some steam.
Yeah, and that's a little bit scary. 2 kills, 4 assists. Compare that to Castle's 1 kill, 1 assist right now. Xin Zhao is supposed to be the better early game champion in terms of dueling, in terms of ganking. And Bel'Veth is the better scaling champion. So it does feel like everything is going Trinket, and by extension, OC's way.
Feels so good. And right now, you go right back to that dragon stack, and keep in mind last time it was only 1 dragon that OC were able to pick up in the early game. This one's a pretty late one, about 4.5 minutes later. You can see on the other side GVU collecting all 3 of the grubs as well. Don't know if the timer is actually going to work out in their favor though for the next set. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, right now it is going to be a big test in the waters, because I want to see OC try and get a little bit more. It is going to be Hextech Dragon for the second soul, yet to be determined.
Oh my goodness, and they're looking to set up another gank into the bot lane. They will get spotted by Pluto. It will not matter. There's no flash.
Yeah, Pluto already left. Pluto knew what was going down, and Nightstar didn't really have any options. So just a freebie, pick up another piece of the puzzle for the scaling Bel'Veth.
Yeah, with all the wards coming down as well, normally that'd be enough to catch the mid lane roam. And like you said, I think Pluto had an inkling it might be the case, so he was walking up to get that vision. But that's a Talia with Weaver's Wall. She comes in from halfway through your jungle. If you are trying to track her, the wards need to be much closer to the mid lane, just like you do with a Twisted Fate. Now, Castle and Pluto trying to find paralysis. They've called down TP as well.
I actually really like this. They're gonna force a Josie to burn that ghost, be that sacrificial lamb. Will that be a kill actually granted to Nightstar? I think it is. So you know what? Trade back, not the worst thing in the world. Mid lane, both of them being taken quite low. As this is Jinko going, hey, please let these rockets hit. I want the Scorky to pop off. Still 1-1-1. Doesn't have a heavy CS lean, but if you step up too far, this is gonna be the chance. Good Valkyrie out, but a flash. Almost a prediction coming out of Trinket.
Yeah, that was really, really close between the two of them there. And overall, this is not a good sign. If we are seeing Jinko with the rockets already enabled and still not winning out these trades, that's a little bit worrisome. We get to see this gank at the bot side here. And Ajosu was kind of dead to rights the moment the TP came down, and they knew it. So everything from here on out is Ajosu just trying to escape. I was thinking maybe you can run up top, but gonna be honest, it doesn't matter. The beautiful part for Grandview, of course, is getting that kill onto Nightstar, onto that AD carry. And we've already seen Nightstar can go toe-to-toe with Josu in the 1v1. The last time it happened, it wasn't a 1v1 and Trinket showed up. So Nightstar gonna want to try and get every little bit of an edge you can. And then next time Paralysis roams, try and punish this Jinx again.
And you want that sooner than later. You're going for the early game, mid game lethality build, which still can pump out damage later. It's just not as much as a Jinx. You're not going to be free firing, you know, sustained damage all day long. The fact that you're even having to get support to get these kills feels kind of bad. Not the worst thing in the world. Like I said, maybe I'm putting a little bit too much pressure down there. For right now, though, you are going to even up that CS lead. You're going to be overtaking them as well with 10. And the top side, Strict Proctor over to building that Rod of Ages. Gorilla Jones, of course, leaning more into that Leandris, try and get some extra value there. But draw in, though, as Pluto, who is trying to run interference, just got level 6 and that last engage. You're looking to deter any future dives.
Oh no, Bill. I was looking at inventories when you mentioned the Rod of Ages, and I just realized GVU, they are going for a late game skill once again. Well, comes out top lane.
Late game scaling for someone that is not late game just yet. Strict Proctor does hit level 10. Maybe you get enough time for those abilities to come back up, and the cooldowns are there. So if this lands, this is over. No flash on either. This is going to be a dance left or right. You get the belly bump. Oh, but in comes a little bit of a trickster. The 1v1 not honored. as it's going to be Gorilla Jones to grab the kill.
It's a Talia. It's never a 1v1. Orbital Ems is just doing his job. Castle looking to reciprocate in this bot lane. Do I have a window of time? Okay, I think a Josu and Paralysis are fine. I actually wanted to highlight the cull that Jinko bought. Just bought actually just after that replay at, what was that, like 11 minutes? It is a very, very late cull coming through.
And that hurts. If you take a look, most CS numbers are only going to be 220, but that doesn't matter when you're roaming. You're not going to pick up CS on the roam. They're not going to jump. A Josu trying to flash away. You are. Ghost is not available, but the rest of the team is here, and they're going to try and slow it down. Ems again with a beautiful delay, but the kills still come through. It's a 4v3, and it's death from below, but that is Ems to pick up one. Can this be Trinket gathering another? And that's a jump and kill. Very nice grab by Ems to grab two. But Trinket wants more. Trinket wants to clear these last two. And that'll be the denial tool. I think Nightstar, you have flash, but you don't want to flash away over that fat side of the wall. You just bite the bullet, take the death. And it is going to be OC again to gather more. No stop on the recall, just a couple plates.
Split second. Honestly, I think Trinket actually probably could have gone for Pluto and left Nightstar for Ems or a Josu to pick up. But either way, what was that? A 1-4-3? 1-for-3. At the end of the day, on a dive, and that's the thing with Talia, right? We just talked about how Talia never makes it equal. You always have to be so aware of her mobility, and it's not just the Weaver's wall as well. Her passive orbital, when she's near walls, she moves faster. So you have to take that into account when you're kind of looking for these dives.
Taking into account the passives, the abilities, and all the possibilities. Strict Proctor realizing maybe you're not as tanky as an Ornn from previous. The Drunk Man put to sleep in this top side. Third death for Strict Proctor.
And that actually messes up Castle's plans as well. Castle was looking for the Herald. We'll have to back off now. They're looking for a Josu. Mid lane, okay, it was a good idea, an attempt. Oh, we get the replay of this dive. So what's super important to watch as well is sort of the positioning. Because Talia got the base off after that top round, unfortunately, it felt like GVU just wasn't aware of the timing of when Talia can get in. And a Josu getting out there was absolutely criminal. I'm going to be honest, a Josu doesn't need to be alive to carry the rest of this fight. But it was nice, and the moment Ems kind of showed up, it was basically GG at that point.
I think the main piece is a Josu living just feels even worse for GVU. Yeah. We talked about in game number one a little bit off time. This is what you were talking about. I do agree. Pluto. Yeah, Pluto could have gotten dove. I think that's the end of the play. We are going to take a look at the live now as we're right back in for the upcoming Dragon. It is now well and alive. But I think there is a point in game number one where we saw GVU realize and start getting a little bit desperate when things went a little bit wrong. That could have been the one as well. OC winning that bot side fight. I'll have to wait and see, as that's a dodge without dodging, as Gorilla Jones doesn't even get touched by that. Mid lane, though, Paralysis might be eaten up. It's 2v4 right now, but everyone gets under the tower, so OC are more than fine.
Yeah, and here's the problem for GVU overall. They're not ready to fight. Look at their items here. They are behind in most of their items, and specifically in the mid lane, Jinko is sat on a tier and a cull. Neither of those are combat stats, so you don't have to poke advantage. Ems getting cornered, actually uses the Weaver's wall to get out. He's on the wrong side of the wall with the turret.
Ems is not joining this fight anytime soon, by the way. Ems ate 3 tower shots and was like, yo, let me go top to farm that up real quick. I am so sorry. Pardon my intrusion. I will leave right away.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, like, hey, GVU can't fight this, you know, OC just set up for this and take this, you'll win the fight. And then that happens, and that
Wait. Ems freaking Saris embraced proc because you took 3 tower shots and an 8 minion shot. That's great. By the way, that's not that. Well, actually, it might be important considering this is a dive in the top side. You really don't have that shield. Actually, that might be death, but you don't have the damage on the side of GVU, so you can't take advantage of that. Instead, it's towers to fall with the Herald, and Trinket says, yo, get off my mid laner.
No shield, no problem, because Pluto got no health. Unfortunately for this Rakan, you're still pretty squishy, and the CC between the Unraveled Earth and what Bel'Veth can put out was enough. Great flash from Nightstar. Oh, and it's just enough to get him out.
You landed. Oh! I was waiting. I saw the full stacks. I was like, no way this reaches. Paralysis, no fancy feet here today. Kill right back as Nightstar is actually 4-4-0.
Yeah, Paralysis built Mikhail's as first item, so you really don't have that much armor. I didn't think it'd be enough, but without any armor whatsoever against the Lethality Varus, yeah, that definitely chunks.
It hurts so bad. At the current moment, though, this tower is going to fall. Surprisingly enough, this is the first tower for GVU. They have tried to be a little bit more stalwart in this game, With the 3 towers on the outside has punched OC straight into the lead. They are about 4.8k in the lead, and you can see it's a deep spread across pretty much every single lane except ADC. The only difference, and I think it is those kills that really make it, OC outside of the Jinx feeling great.
Yeah, and again, you're running lethality barriers and hill things, right? You were expected to win the early game. So Nightstar having the lead is well within OC's calculations. The problem to me, Orbital, is that we talk about that, the fact that, hey, GVU has been stalwart about the defense, but I don't know if that's going to work for you. I'm still looking at these items coming through from Jinko and Nightstar. Tier still stacking from Nightstar, not even the mana mute, much less the mirror mana. And I'm looking at OC and saying that, hey, they can just brute force and push in right now with these with these Corlins as well.
Well, the TPs are coming in. This is going to be the dance. Again, a short change on the Strict Proctor ultimate means everyone's still alive, but they do get a Josu. However, remember, a Josu's not the one with the main amount of gold. Everyone from the side of OC are going to scatter. Still, the tower does fall, and now it's a re-engaged fight. Gorilla Jones may pay the price as well. You don't have anything else in the bucket, so GVU are able to get some retaliation down, but it's a small piece as, again, you are down in the tower count. You only got 2 kills for it.
I mean, you get to push, and Paralysis is very low on health. Trinket is able to get out safe, but with Trinket being zoned out, Orbital, I think GVU can keep pushing in.
I don't think so,
no,
OC.
never mind. Not a Pluto
says,
dies.
yo, you made a mistake. This is the Belveth R5. That's huge. And when you draw 3, you leave 1 alone. It's Nightstar to fall as well. It's still running for their life. Trinket dancing around. You're just waiting for cooldowns to come back up. You have another dash that's available. Good dodge away. Castle not able to jump. And now you're under the safety of tower. It's only going to be the poke, though. They're hardcore committing for this, but I don't think it's going to be that enjoyable. It's a problem, as I think Trinket just blew up the game for us. We can't show this to anyone. It's a problem, but it does look like the kills came through. They are able to finally get the life of Trinket.
Rocket comes across and doesn't take down Jinko. Fractions of health, and we're seeing Gorilla Jones kind of run up there. Are they going to try and blitz it? No, Jinko lives to fight another day.
It was too dirty. We couldn't show you. We could not show you what just went down. Of course, right now it's Strict Proctor to also feel that way. No leniency here, as this is going to be a jump forward. A flash over by Paralysis to ensure that cast Bloom straight in to the Gragas. And it's a kill and push for the side of OC.
You know what? Last week, I think Strict Proctor played under the name Lenient Proctor. Maybe a little bit nicer to the students.
When the students rebel, this is what happens.
Yeah, Strict Proctors get it first, I guess. We're seeing Gorilla Jones kind of push. Oh, we get a okay, so this was the mid lane fight. And it was actually a great response from GVU because it takes so long for the turret to go down. Even with the Weaver's wall that did come across from Emps, this is probably what even close to salvage that fight. If not for that Weaver's wall, we see Nightstar get into the fight, and it ends up a lot worse for the side of OC. Now, as it kind of cleans up, what you have to remember too is Trinket has a lot of gold. So Trinket is a massive threat, and that's actually what ends up carrying this fight after. Was the threat Trinket still have? Oh, nice on Pluto.
Yeah. Em's deciding to jump on the other side of the wall and a little bit alone right now means that they are all safe. So for GVU's factor, we come right back to, in that same location, just without the tower this time, an attempted gank.
Yeah, but without the turret, it's a big difference. Over the last time, the turret
that's true.
swung in a GVU's way. But if they're not taking turret shots, that ends poorly for GVU with the goal lead that OC have, with the item advantage OC have. Now, having the Weaver's Wall out, I don't know if it's going to be up in time for that dragon. It probably won't be. I mean, dragon's up in 8 seconds. So that is another window of opportunity here where GVU can just go on this dragon, which, frankly, I didn't think they should have. OC is stronger. They should be looking for these bigger team fights, and they should be using objectives to force it.
OC trying to get revenge for that early season loss. They're saying, yo, we are 19-11 right now, 5k in the lead. We're looking to take this game by storm and put ourselves one more step closer to that crown. The current jockeying around this Baron is more than enough to show that this dragon on the other side for GVU will be taken. But the big prize on the map, OC, are just trying to tempt the waters here. I'm very curious to see where they actually go. Emps realizing a little bit too late that dragon was being taken. And now has to dodge away. This goes ahead, eats a little bit of damage, rooted down though. Chain of Crunch is big, and that's two ults burn, but they do find Paralysis as well. GVU fighting back. Rocket goes out. Nightstar has to run, but you get the reset. And guess what? Jinx is all on it. Josu, with the help of this Gorilla Jones, they're going to fight, and now they run forward. That's going to be almost a knockup, but Pluto dashing away. This is what we talked about, that variety of outs that GVU have. However, it's still a win for the side of OC.
Yeah, and OC going to try and push their luck a little bit with this Baron. I say push your luck because it's very doable, but with Gragas, Corki, and Rakan, GVU actually can make this very difficult. The poke is there. They have the front line to do so, but Jinko's not moving.
They're just staying where they are, and with the smite available, I think they're a little bit too late. Not even pickups on the back end.
They could die here.
It's gonna be a burn. It's a smite away, and now they fight TP coming in, and this is disaster for GVU. They tried to stop the bear, but now they'll lose their life. That's gonna be a zapper not landing. That's a flash out from Jinko. I think this is more than doable, as that's a solo by Emps. Down goes Ludo. Down goes Jinko, and that's a massive swing back, as right now OC are double the kills at GVU.
And they're looking to straight away push with this Baron. Ajosu is kind of low on health. Castle will be zoned out by Trinket, and because of Jinko just going down that fresh death as well, Orbital, it's such an easy push from OC. There's not a ton of wave clear available. It's just Nightstar, and he can only be in one lane.
This hurts so bad. Right now, GVU just trying to salvage what they can. It's going to be a little bit of a stasis held off by that Seeker's arm guard. And I think Rilla Jones just trying to clear the wave. You will pay the price, but look at the bot side. Tower has already fallen. Castle gets the kill. But the job has been done. Base is now opened up. OC more than happy, as we are going to get a replay of this Baron fight. GVU just trying to scrounge out some scraps. Yeah, before.
Yeah, I mean, this is a critical fight, right? The fact that Emps does go down, but once again, you know, it's sort of the following fight, and we're starting to hit the Jinx moment of the game. That's the moment where Jinx, it just becomes, can you kill this Jinx? The Talia is nice, she was the playmaker, but the team fighter is going to be the Jinx, and of course they just kind of run down at this point. Now the peel from Baron's very interesting too, because it is all-seeing Baron, and that's really what shafted GVU in that moment, because the angles you come in are kind of rough, and if you're in that long corridor, yeah, it's just a perfect funnel. You've got to use mobility spells to get out, or you're busted.
Feels bad because we all saw it and we were like, oh, dang. Okay, this happens. Right now, GVU understand that this is not going their way. They have been behind for quite some time. It's only getting worse. And now they have to find options, which Castle, quite honestly, is trying to make happen. You can see the early TPs coming in, just trying to find an angle, trying to find 1 or 2 kills. And if they can find a little bits and pieces, that would be considered a dub. At the current moment, though, they do have to back away, have to get back to safety. That's going to be Pluto dodging out on a zapper. You can see here, GVU, even though they're looking, which I think is appropriate, they're trying to be proactive, they're not allowed to. This 1-4 push might as well be 3-4, considering that this is Trinket full shoving on this top lane. Weaver's wall to cut everyone off, as that's going to be 1v2, but look at the pop. Varus is just dead, and the engage coming out of GVU, it's still not going to kill Trinket. Trinket dives right into the mix and stand and deliver. Let me kill. This is OC to take game number 2. Triple kill from Emps. But OC rule the rift.
Once again, it feels like it's just Jinko left standing. Trying to see what you can. Never mind, I spoke too soon. Jinko might not be standing by the end of it. Full ace from GVU and OC Esports right now. They're looking terrifying overall. Their mid game is just spectacular, and that's twice GVU have fallen in the mid game.
It hurts to say, it hurts to see, and RMC, I have no idea what's going on. Quite honestly, it's a whole almost flipped script. We talked about GVU being this mid to late game monster, knowing how to play it, knowing how to get around these angles. OC is taking them to town with their own game plan. They literally took the playbook out of them, said, here, we are going to show you how to get to that mid to late game effectively.
Well, the problem is GVU is a late game team, Orbital. The mid game has always been where they start to ramp up, but it's too little too late both these times. This game, again, right, the fact that we're seeing cult, we're seeing tiers around that, what, 15-minute mark? Just purchased, freshly purchased. Like, you're not converting to the item just yet. You're far and behind the curve, and against OC, that's just not viable, especially after game 1, and this is why I called for GVU to train up this strategy, Orbital, and now it feels like a replay of Sunday in the grand finals of the MEC, here in the grand finals of the NECC. Grandview opted for 2 late game compositions, neither have worked out, backs are up against the wall again.
And for OC, they're just spreading their wings. They're saying, hey, we got all this room to fly. We got everything. Let me just go ahead and do whatever we want to. It feels like they can do no wrong, and I give a lot of credit over to Trinket. That R5 Bel'Veth, we knew it was in the pocket. We knew it was available. We didn't expect to see it in a game 2. Normally, that's reserved for almost like a games 4 or 5. I think you bring it out to be that's right. Go ahead and do it here. Do whatever you want. Right now, OC running the rift. We'll be right back with some more NECC action, as this is either going to be the finale or a continuation. Please don't go anywhere. How far Kings have fallen. They've lost one crown and another seems out of their reach. OC have looked dominant. And honestly, we knew OC was coming for their revenge. We knew the Cinderella story. It's almost a trifecta of 3 reverses here from the regular season. They just need one more game. And quite honestly, GVU feels like they've given up a little bit.
Yeah, the revenge tour is almost complete right now for OC, and a reverse sweep orbital feels so incredibly tough. But step by step, let's start with the next game, and let's talk a little bit about Grandview, because right now it feels like they're stuck in that one-dimensional sort of late game carry style of play. I want to give credit to Castle. I think Castle on the Volibear and the Xinjiao has been the big carry for Grandview so far in these games. He's been trying his heart out to make action happen, and we saw a couple times that Xinjiao just fought people in game 2. As weird as it might say, as it might sound, for me to say this, I know I just called for Grandview to look for early game, but I want Castle specifically on something that can carry, because he's been the most active one. If he gets kills, like we saw Trinket get on Belveth, on something like a Belveth or a Viego, another champion that he excels upon, I think he can have so much more impact. And instead, I'd like to see Jinko play actually more for the early to mid game, because right now that Corki play, that build and that timing was not it.
And we have to call it out. Normally, you don't see a Cole that late. Normally, you actually see, I think it is the tier and Cole before we even see components of an Essence review. You don't buy it that late in the game. At that point, you're supposed to be grouping with the rest of the team. Jinko has the potential. We need to see that potential bloom. OC, for their own benefit, though, I'm excited to see what they can throw down. In game number 3 here, they've shown us some iffy early game. There have been some moments where we go, is it going to work? And then mid-game rolls around and they just go, I don't know what we were talking about. We're doing fine. I don't know. Nothing of the first 13 minutes really matters. I'm excited I'm excited to see how this goes down. I want to see that draft, so let's go ahead and get that rolling and see where the players are actually going to be. Let's line it up right now. It is going to be GVU still on that blue side, and keep in mind, what we saw before was pretty much same bans across for GVU, except for that Ivern swap up at ban 3.
Yeah, and well, for OC as well, I mean, their composition was very, very similar, right? Like, they kept the bot lane the same, the top lane the same. The only changes were in the mid jungle because of the bans, as you mentioned. So I'm also curious to see if OC changes anything up, because I think GVU are kind of out of answers. Like, I don't know what more you can change with your bans. You need to ban the Darius in top side. You need to ban the Aatrox. Those two are necessary. You know you can handle the Rumble. So then you just get one ban to play with, right? And if you open up the Ivern, then OC just goes back to what they did game 1. So I'm not, for me, for Grandview, it's not about the bans. It's really about the picks that need to change. Oh, they actually banned the Jinx.
That is, you don't see that very often. I just want to point it out. You don't see a round 2 ban of an ADC like a Jinx. Normally, the respect given by GVU, excuse me, is something that even surprises my digestive system. I'm going to have a hard time kind of swallowing that here. Rek'Sai on the other side, though, still very much the same. GVU, this is now the big swap up. What do you want to ban third? You banned away so many other options. It's now the Rumble. 2/5 of that composition from games 1 and 2 are now taken off the table.
Okay, so to me, this means GVU, they forget the potential risks. We're dealing with what is causing a problem for us right now. I honestly don't think the Rumble was it. I thought Strict Proctor did an amazing job handling it. And the Jinx surprises me too. Your blue side, you could first pick Jinx. I know Nightstar plays it. Nightstar is like a great team fighter. Things like Jinx, like Kog'Maw, those are sort of his bread and butter champions. And I've known him for his misfortune. I mean, not so much late game carry, but huge team fight presence. First pick Udyr for Strict Proctor. Overall, I feel like this is about as close to carry as what we might see from
What was it? You were mentioning before, Strict Proctor is very strict on the champions he plays. It's like a Sante, Udyr, and Ornn, and this is one of the 3. I love it. I love it so much. We get to see it outright as well. This is now going to be one of the first times that we see GVU actually invest this much on the top side. Bot side, though, a Josu moving from the Jinx to the Zeri. This better be paired with a pretty strong support later on down the field, or else I'm kind of scared what happens in that pot lane. A direct counter, though, the Gnar to be taken against that Udyr.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you just blind an Udyr top lane, or any top lane champion, right? Especially into something like Gorilla Jones, who does have a pretty big champion pool he can reliably fall back on. The Zeri pickup as well, I feel like that's sort of the secondary big sort of late game scaling AD carry you pick up when that Jinx is removed, that or the Aphelios. And the nice thing about Zeri is you don't need a team necessarily to play around you there. So your team can still drop whatever they want. If they want to go for pick composition or like a jungle carry, that's still definitely an option. Overall, I'm excited. I called for a carry from Castle, and he has defaulted to the Viega.
I like it. And not only that, paired with something strong in that mid lane, it is going to be that Taliyah, which we saw had their own potential.
Yes.
But Emp's coming out with an answer of their own. This is now the ball delivery system that you and I have known very well. Maybe a Nocturne to come out as well behind it. I think Nocturne, has fallen off a little bit of the train. I think some people have kind of shied away from it. Still very powerful if you do want to lock it in. Now moving towards those ADC factors, though, OC saying, hey, the Varus, the Chain of Corruptions, was very strong, would set up that Viego very well. We can't let it go through.
Yeah, as expected. I wouldn't be surprised to be something like an Aphelios ban as well, just to continue pinching those hyper carries. Yep, Nocturne taken away from Trinket. And for Orbital, for this OC squad at this point, the more I see an Orianna at this point, and with an R, I'm thinking team fight opposition coming through from OC. So probably some sort of engage support in the bot lane. You could go Enchanter as well just to buff up the Zeri, but I really do think for OC, especially with the strength that we've seen from Emps and from Trinket as well, pardon me, like I like to see almost like like the Bel'Veth could kind of be repeated here if you want it, plus some sort of engage support.
I like the fact that you pointed it out. GV, you were thinking the exact same thing. This shows that RMC is the best psychic out there. Said, hey, no Nautilus to be available. We don't want to give that one over to Azeri. Let's go ahead and take it away. Ooh. Trinket, though, opting for the Wukong, a sneaky engage style instead of that raw, just straightforward act. I like this. I really, really like this call out. GVU now have to find an answer, and tucking away that support for OC leaves his bot lane up for grabs. Okay, and GVU seeing all this engage on coming towards them on OC's side, I do like the Xayah. You just go Xayah Rakan here, I think. And then you try and get control of that early lane. Xayah does really well into all these sort of melee team fighters running into you. I'm going to count Gnar as a melee because you want him mega for the team fight.
it's a good place for Nightstar to pick up this item. We said before, Nightstar is a very good team fighting AD carry. So now is the time where as a bot lane, you get to kind of play safe and just look for the scaling and kind of not have to worry about being too proactive like he had to on the Varus.
And I like it because Pluto actually had a pretty good time on that Rakan in game number 2. Not the greatest, obviously, but definitely didn't get caught out as much as before. Now paired with Xayah is great. But Paralysis, taking a page out of Pluto's books, like, yo, let's go the Alistar, let's have fun. And I actually really like this. It's something that I personally really like to see on teams. Whenever you see one engage tool going down, especially with an Orianna, as soon as we talk about engage and team fights, you want to have a secondary and third backup line to that engage tool. You never want to send your engage all under low sim. It feels so bad and it can go so wrong. So I love the fact that we saw the last 2 picks be massive engage threats. Right now, we're getting in to game number 3. OC want to slam 3-0 in this lane matchup. GVU going to try their best to take over that mid game. And you can see with a drastic shift in champions as well, I think we're in for a very different ride.
And as you called, Orbital, OC are looking to be the proactive ones to slam this 3-0 victory home. They've got all the engage tools they need. Literally on almost every single champion except for the Zarya for Ajosu. There's potential engage for this team. GVU on the other hand, I like the Xayah Rakan to deal with team fights, but the rest of their composition is not about the team fight. Sure, Udyr can create great zones of control. He can be a tanky body, but Castle and Jinko, they're looking to more find picks, find skirmishes, get those resets rolling for this Viego, and in a team fight, that's going to be very, very difficult for them to do.
Conversely, I actually really like how GVU have set it up. Yes, as you said, the Xayah Rakan built around this kind of stay safe, play smart. If you actually look down the line of GVU, it does send into that very individualistic style. Strict Proctor, if we ever see him group up, not really there. We want to see Strict Proctor try and dominate with the Udyr, get a lane push going and everything like that. I really like how we mentioned that Castle is one that we really want to watch for. Enable that Viego. If you are able to play the game, GVU are never going to be all in the same place at the same time, except for global objectives. If anything, I want to see them split. I want to see, you know, those 2-piece movements, those battery pieces moving around for the entire team.
Yeah, that all happens later, Orbital, and we still got the laning phase to get to. So let's talk a little bit about the early game, because we're seeing heavy trading already come down in the bot lane. Xayah Rakan, of course, with their sort of bonded passive, is a very strong duo in lane. And in the mid lane as well, I think Talia can kind of go toe-to-toe with Orianna. We saw last game, Emps, sort of the mobility and the map control you get at level 6. GVU has an early spike there. And the top lane is the only sort of place where I think GVU might not win out or have that side advantage in the early to mid game. And I'm looking at Castle to kind of swing by, because Wukong is not the strongest in the early game. So while you're losing in the top 1v1, when it comes to a 2v2, I like the Viego spot.
It's going to be fun to watch for. As you can already see, though, quick clears coming out, as I do think Castle is about 15 seconds ahead here. Being a little bit faster on the adaptation, being a little bit faster on that clear path. To see it being covered up, already a camp over. So we may see an exchange over by those scuttles as well. Very curious to see how that breaks out. Huge wave crashing, though, in the spot side. We mentioned how strong the Xayah Rakan combo is. An already early advantage for Nightstar and Pluto, utilizing that early damage to grab a plate at earlier than 3 minutes.
And with that early show that Nightstar and Pluto have, this is not a scuttle that Trinket's going to feel comfortable trying to contest. The bot side aid from GVU and the strength should favor Castle if it comes to a fight. If anything, maybe Trinket looks for the gank, but you already see the wards coming out early from GVU. They knew they were going to be doing this, and they knew they just needed ward coverage up to when Castle could come down.
You can already see the waiting. I love the fact that Castle is just chilling on the far side. Hey, yo, anyone there? Nope. Okay, I take my stuff. On the other side, Trinket's like, yeah. Trinket is just like, yo, I don't want to touch that bot lane. Good luck, guys. I'll see you on the top side. Not even testing those waters, which I really do appreciate. But might test mid lane, as there is no mana right now. That's such an easy bait. A flash forward and a flash out by Jinko. It's a nice little opportunistic gank.
Yeah, flash is traded there, and good call from Jinko to recognize that, wait, I'm really far up. Recognizing which side to kite to as well. And trading flashes is perfectly fine. We'll see them kind of TP back in, and it feels like a lot of Emp's early work in terms of poking has been nullified.
See what they can throw down here. Right now, we are just still in that lull of a period, no one really breaking out and getting a little bit too frisky with it, which is surprising. We did see early engaged tools being used in games 1 and 2, this game 3. I'm interested to see where that first heavy development comes through. I think OC had planned in the previous games to be around that mid bot, but we saw GVU put a lot of pressure at about minute 6 or 7 into this bot lane specifically, with Nightstar and Pluto already having that sort of lead, extra gold, extra value. I'm interested to see if they try it again.
You know what? Well, actually, we've got a bit of this low state, right, in this early game. Like, I recognize that, you know, we like to see more action, but you also said that OC kind of messed up a little bit in the first 2 games in the early game. So,
I did.
This game state right now, do you think it's good for OC? Like this quiet.
Now you're turning the questions back on me. All right, I see how it is. I actually really like it. I appreciate it because as much as I like blood in the water, I like clean play as well. Exchange of conditions, you know, exchange of value. But this is anything but. I think both teams are actually opting to not lose a lot of death and a lot of kills. So you go ahead, just smite one away. But a flash forward, okay. So this is Jing Cole just eating the wall and then some.
Perfect. I managed to trigger the Caster Curse. I knew my ass
you did.
Be happy about this. Like, we'd get blood eventually. So we do see first blood. It is a bit of a contest coming through from GVU, and all the things I kind of said about why I didn't want to see Trinket gank bot side, the same applies, but in reverse to that top side. The fact that Gorilla Jones is ahead, has that early pressure, meant early rotate, early damage, and Jinko didn't have the flash, so got punished for it from the earlier flash in lane. It is being answered though. 2 plates down already bot side for Nightstar and Pluto.
And this is a heavy difference, I think, from what game 1 was, or game 2 was. Of course, the other difference is Castle having to burn flash, not dying inside enemy jungle this time around. It's also a little bit better. However, losing that flash does mean you yield a little bit more presence over to Trinket, who 0-0-0, not the worst scoreline in the world, of course, but if you want to look for it, maybe you could go for that first dragon. You know Castle had to burn flash, maybe you get a jump on them.
I think going for first drag right now for Trinket is risky. Like, if you knew Nightstar and Pluto had base, maybe you go for it. But really, Trinket himself would like to get that level 6, get that Cyclone. That's when you start looking for those sort of big team fights. Gorilla Jones getting run down right now.
Oh. Wow. That's Udyr for you. That's Udyr in a nutshell.
It is, but I also feel like this is Gorilla Jones for us this series. Like, we saw this on Rumble too, where he just seems to overestimate how much health he has and doesn't really get out quick enough in a lot of these situations. Like, we saw the hop there right at the end. I feel like if you use it sooner, maybe you avoid some of the damage coming through. And props to Proctor. Again, we might say that, hey, Strict Proctor's got a strict champion pool, but he knows it really, really, really well. Like, he knows exactly how much damage he can pump out.
Here's a point where I think a lot of people do say specialists are kind of nice to have. You have your 3 champions, and that's all you really play. Granted, if we do see a shift over to the Fearless Draft, you need to have a much larger champion pool. But in this instance, I do like it. This is also something that we didn't mention, Strict Proctor. So far in the entire series, has actually had pretty significant leads, or at least even states that we've really enjoyed. On the other side, though, OC still waiting for that mid game to roll around. Nightstar and Pluto, though, yielding and granting themselves a much larger boon, as we do see Gorilla Jones just straight up proxy farming. I love this.
I mean, to be fair, Gorilla Jones, as much as he has died to Strict Proctor, he's always up CS. Right? I don't know how I feel about him proxying on Gnar, though. I do feel like that's very, very punishable. And I guess maybe it's a bit of a distraction as well to try and buy Castle away from this bot lane where Josu and Paralysis are kind of getting hammered pretty heavily. I'm actually getting a little bit worried as well because with this Zeri and Alistair, if you get low enough, there's always the potential for a dive. Viego is really good at getting the resets and getting out in situations like that. So maybe that's the call for mostly apply pressure somewhere else to distract.
I would agree with that, and I think that Josu and Paralysis realize they're not the main focus right now. Actually, take a look at the gold. It's pretty net even, so for all that's gone down on the bot side, it's gone evenly on the other sides of the map.
True.
So if they do decide to force anything, hey, it might be in that bot side. Sure, for GVU, if anything, it would be a tipping of that skill. So we'll see if it happens. You can see Castle already leaning into what you said. Go ahead, go for that blue buff, and it is going to be Trinket to try and fight it as well. I don't know if it was stolen. I don't think it was. So Castle now getting rotated out. Does not have that clone anymore. Tries to flash away. Use the Heartbreaker to get to safety. But now they're going to fight back. And Pluto is just shut down. Josu finds the kill. And with that, Ghost is going to run forward. Nightstar still has the Feather Storm. But it is going to be Trinket to try and run away. You are safe right now. No Weaver's Wall as well. And this is going to be the challenge. You gave up a kill, and GVU are not a lot of response.
And that's a good reaction from OC here. The fact that Ajosu and Paralysis were getting punished in the bot lane, they needed some help. It's not okay to just leave them alone when they're about to lose their turret. We get a replay on this, and what I want to kind of focus on was what happened to Pluto. Because Pluto tried to buy space, but there's a Cyclone right here. You dashed right into that. The Shockwave pulls him off, and it feels like he goes the other way, right back into the Cyclone again. You got hit, it felt like, by Voltics of the Cyclone. Obviously it didn't because the second one was there, but Pluto just was in the bounce house, had no chance. And that's not normal from a Rakan, normally, right? Such a mobile champion, just punished both ways.
It always feels bad when you're trying to save your teammate, which granted that wouldn't have happened if Castle wasn't invading, which I don't think it was the wrong idea, but you try to save your jungler and it's just like, nope,
Sure, yeah.
not allowed to. Of this current moment though, it is still Pluto and Nightstar to try and gather so much extra gold. They are gaining so much off of these plates that you can actually see it. I would love to see that gold tick right now and see how much Nightstar and Pluto are up. They've gotten 4 plates to 0 in that sense in the bot side. It has been all them all day long. What we are seeing though is massive grubs going the way of OC. If it comes to this late game, it is going to be push city for the Eagles.
And it's kind of crazy. We're looking at potentially first turret taken without jungle pressure, without void grubs. You're just kind of pounding through here. Jinkall behind and just setting up another dive.
I didn't even see this earlier, but it is that hard dive. Level 6 coming out from Paralysis. Unbreakable Will is there, and you're able to sustain for quite a while. And you're almost able to live. Heartbreaker goes in.
Huge.
Castle finally gets the kill, but it's drawn enough time. Take a look at where everyone is. The Josu flashing away, and if that Shockwave is going to be in the favor, it can get the kill, but they don't even need it. And now guess who's here? Trinket is going to try and roam around. Shockwave could land onto if you do, but you don't need it. Again, I keep calling for it, but you don't, because you just had GVU on that run. Emps
here we go.
Flashing forward, gets that kill, and it's a Josu to be gifted those extra bits of gold.
And it just feels like every time GVU wants to set up this dive bot, it's the right call. Objectively speaking, you want to punish that. But OC keeps reading them in time. Paralysis bought that time with his life there. And it's worth it. That turret still stands. First brick hasn't gone to GVU. And Josu is still finding kills on the back end of this. He's still getting fed, and he is the hyper carry.
And I want to talk about how long Paralysis was alive like this. Like, just watch this Alistar.
That's the tail end of it too, right? He already took so much burst up front, and then he pops the Unbreakable. And because it took so long, Castle doesn't get the resets he ideally wants to. Ajosu's too close to turret. So one flash is enough. And overall, I know you keep calling for the Shockwave here, but props to Emps for knowing that I don't need to use it. I can hold it. That CC chain right there was kind of okay, right? Like we got the CC, and I do think that Trinket also kind of moved up at the very tip, so
right.
I think they dropped the ball a little bit, literally, but they still find a Shockwave at. And sure, it's not the 3 kills you could have wanted to get, but 2 kills is good enough. And again, the fact that Ajosu is picking them up is the key thing here.
Considering how this bot lane has gone, Ajosu's just like, thanks guys for the help. That's all I really care about. I'm not down in the hole anymore. We now get stuns, and we now get pressure on Nightstar specifically. Already have health, but now's that re-engage. We talked about GVU trying to get the value back. Thanks on the back of Castle, but it's being read by OC. No Mega Gnar to be had, but a TP coming in. Emps saying, yo, you don't get that extra help. It is 5 members strong for OC and 5 members limping in from the side of GVU. Take a look at the bot lane. It is Pluto and Nightstar to not have that much HP, but Paralysis going to try and hold on. That's Quinton's going in, charming up everyone. It looks like a fight that we had, but the Shockwave in the back line lands. No kills come through, though, but it's a double kill for Pluto. Strict Proctor trying to get a few more. Weaver's Wall goes out. It's a little bit of a slow. Ajosu still free firing on the back line. That's going to be the Mega Gnar. You get one throw in. But that's all it's going to be, a 1 for 2 so far. But look at the low HP bars. Another chunk out of Pluto is taken. Mega Gnar is available, or not available. 2/3. You're going to dive right in. I think Gorilla Jones might have got too much. What a wall-up! What a wall-up! And an ult behind! This is a fight for a quadra kill. Gorilla Jones getting revenge in the top side. A final chunk as Gorilla Jones goes ape on them!
Let's go! Gorilla Jones has had such a rough series in lane, but in the team fight, when it matters, they're all so low on health. And I thought Gorilla Jones was going to die, hopping into 4. And he didn't even go for the immediate turn either. But yeah, right there. Nice, easy double. And thankfully, Emps followed up as well. Emps is no mana, by the way. That last shield was all Emps had left in the tank. And going mini here, actually, was the ideal moment for him to go mini, because then you get the extra range. They're able to clean up, and OC, from what was a balanced, even state orbital, they just blew the game wide open again.
We were mentioning that Gorilla Jones has had like a quiet series so far. All you needed was one. I loved every moment of it. OC are delivering, and they are wanting this series victory. They have stomped their way through their revenge tour, and this would be the icing on the cake, taking down what were reigning champions in previous iterations of other leagues, being able to confidently come back and get a 3-0. They just need to close out what is arguably their strongest points throughout this series, the mid game. They have to close out the mid game neatly and carry on to a victory. Like, is that not such a nice thing to hear for the squad?
It's nice for them, but it's not done just yet overall. And GVU this game have showed us a lot more proactivity. Shockwave onto Ginkle. Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
I was watching that and I was like, I don't know why Jingle is in this position to begin with, and it feels so bad.
Yeah, and that's basically from 100 to 0. I mean, granted, it took 2 combos. Paralysis has Unbreakable. I'm not even worried right now.
It's a level 1 Unbreakable, by the way, and Castle and Pluto are just like, bro, what can we do? We can't cut through this. It's painful. M's also there with a shield. Are you gonna flash?
Okay.
Yeah, you are. There is no extra value behind it, and maybe you get that assassination, but M's almost able to get the safety. Flash is almost up. You invested so much, and now it's gonna be turned around. Cyclone to go out. It is gonna be the jump forward as the Featherstorm does claim the kill. No kills come through for the side of Trinket, but the feathers come out as Nightstar is able to get the extra. And now the Feather Recall draws that unfortunate scenario. Trinket is now down, and honestly, huge pickups from GVU in that mid lane.
Yeah, Josu late to the party while all this is happening. Gorilla Jones is just pushing this top side with Herald. And Jinko only died once mid, not again!
No, the poor Talia Mininar just in time. They get
so
the
dead.
HP draw, and now you might get away, but in comes Castle. Strict Proctor and Castle gonna try and do their best. A sacrifice worthy and noble, but the shutdown to Strict Proctor.
But that pulled everybody away from mid orbital. And so for GVU getting all that pressure, they're not getting the turret. If anything, a Josu might find theirs. This team fight is incredible. And first of all, Emps has flash. I want to highlight this because Emps doesn't flash throughout this fight. And the moment we saw Nightstar shows up, that's when you're in trouble. Emps should have flashed here. You should have flashed here. You know, there were opportunities like right there. Go over the wall. You'd have been safe. Instead, Nightstar
It just came up though. I would like to give M some credit. It just came up at the very end of that fight. Like, it was just on its... I was watching it. I was watching it wholeheartedly to see them get out. But the rest of this, Nightstar getting a couple extra kills. Like, there are so many things that went wrong that actually gave GVU such a big window of opportunity. So I really, really like that. Whether or not it was predicted, they were able to make use of it.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fair enough. And huge props to Nightstar. This is why I said, you know, if you can get Nightstar to late game, give him something like Desire with a little bit of agency when he can play safely. And he can soak the end gauge. And I think that's really important to note because the last fight where OC won was GVU pulling the trigger. Whereas this time when GVU lets OC play into them, that's when your Xayah can really start to pop up. Gorilla Jones, okay, you know, we see you, Gorilla Jones. I guess it's worth highlighting as well, Gorilla Jones wasn't at that fight. And he was the guy who cleaned up at the bot side.
Gorilla Jones is going to be drawing so much extra value on that top side in other areas, so we do have to watch and see if OC actually played to that. They have been ones to try and draw their opponents every which way, and it's worked against GVU. Upcoming Dragon in about a minute, though, will be the next test. This is back in that same situation of game number 1. Dragon a piece to both sides. It's a Mountain Dragon. It's not really, I would say, that impactful. It's not important. It's not crazy game-changing. It's still very nice to have, and you don't want to allow either side to have that Dragon stacking, so to see who's actually going to go for it first will be kind of fun.
I'm just thinking, I'm just imagining Paralysis with the Mountain Soul plus the Unbreakable. He's already undying now.
Oh, God. I take it all back. Don't give it to OC.
Yeah, because he's the one attacking everything. That's why he's got 3 deaths, right? Because he's doing his job, and I feel like Mountain would give him that much more benefit. So, yeah, I think OC would be more than happy to look for that. And the other thing overall, too, is that while I kind of agree with these compositions, maybe Mountain's not the most impactful Drake necessarily, OC is still looking for team fights. Let's not forget, this composition is still ultimately a team fight composition. Even if Gorilla Jones wins the 1v1 split push, because of the Talia, the split push is always going to be dangerous for OC with the ability for this Talia to just cover sideways really quickly. So OC ideally still wants to force team fights where their comp will shine.
And that attempt at a shine is going to be on that poor Gnar once again. I say poor because at this point, the spotlight must be burning a hole in their neck. Just,
He's rich,
it's
man.
all... Yeah, it's painful. Top side, though, this dragon is going to be given over to OC in exchange for Strict Proctor trying to open up the rest of the base. Castle going to try and run interference. Gorilla Jones might not enjoy this factor, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Take a look at where... Ooh. Actually, hold on. They're not taking it as quickly as I thought on the top side tower, so OC are going to have a little bit of time to be able to try and push out the rest of the waves as well.
So that's the problem with Split Push Udyr. Most of his damage comes from his Demolish Proc, right? There are sort of two builds for Udyr. Neither of them are good at taking turrets. You've got the full tank Udyr, which we're seeing from Proctor right now, and there's the Liandry's build, Udyr, which are using more for lane control. That also doesn't take turrets well. Pluto might have been caught out here, and Castle just based.
Oh, that feels bad. And because of that, now you get this massive push on the bot side. We were talking about Strict Proctor getting the top side value, but remember, who has 6 grubs? Who has got the true damage on the towers? It's OC.
Yeah, and now it's paying dividends. Yes, they lost first brick, but it did not matter. And again, they don't have to back off either, overall. They can continue to pressure up, looking for team fights. They've got a lot of vision on this bot side. There is a Wards TP from behind, but Udyr flanks are not that scary.
Whoa! That flash keeping them all safe, and now the knockup behind. Emps is taking white low, but it doesn't matter. Emps kills off Castle, and now it's the rest of Oklahoma Christian University. This feels like desperation out of GVU, but it feels like cleanup for a Josie. Gorilla Jones gets some help with the knockups, and they're chasing everyone to the back. The Feathers do next to nothing, as it is 4 for 0 for OC.
And overall, once again, we were just talking about how GVU played better, kiting backwards, letting OC engage into them. But in this particular case, it was GVU playing forward on this play. They looked for Emps. They were kind of going for it. They pull in, and they get split. The other critical thing to note is the big carry for GVU. Nightstar isn't in the fight till multiple members are dead. And from here, we're looking for an amazing Nightstar performance. It doesn't quite come through, but the attempt was there. Almost managed to find some kills.
I love this recall here. The Feathers, if he just had a bit more, if he had the team there, it would have been a great setup. But a Josie being able to slam through these early ADC carries, especially from a Josie who I believe picked it up in R1 of the draft. Crazy number to have. 4-0-5, having a stellar game considering how hard you were forced into that kind of famine type early game. Right now, Baron is currently on the table. The rest of GVU realize this, and they're all trying to play around it. Desperate attempt to stop.
Oh, watch for Trinket on the flank right now. Is on wards. GVU has to be really careful about this one. And Nightstar is trying to threaten out a Josu in the 1v1.
I mean, Gorilla Jones is also mini-Nars, so I think GVU have a feeling they're not going to hard engage just yet. You want to see that Narbor maybe half before OC commit for the full engage. So what they can do is turn around for this Baron, get more wards down, try and cheat out an opportunity, try and bait GVU into that unfortunate scenario. You can see the hard stack coming out here. Emps and Ajosu still kind of playing frontline right now.
Yeah, and we talk about the fact that GVU doesn't want to be the team to engage. Well, you might not have a choice at this Baron. Shockwave being used on a single target onto Talia, who can just TP right back into the fight. I think that's a call for OC to maybe threaten the Baron at that point, force somebody out and go for the 5-man blitz.
They're trying, but that might have been the bait call. Again, Strict Proctor went a little bit too far. Remember, you're just an Udyr. You can't do too much. You don't have flash. You're just shredded and dead. It's the kill that you want, as you call it, the TP, but Jinko is a little bit too late. Now with the Udyr down, there is nothing GVU can do but watch this Baron fall.
I don't even blame Strict Proctor there, overall, because when you see that Shockwave come out onto the Talia, the assumption is they're trying to chunk somebody so that they can get a numbers advantage and go for the Baron call. So somebody needs to go in and check that. And the tank for GVU is Strict Proctor. So Udyr walking up is kind of the right call. Unfortunately, in this case, you got out mind game by OC. Beautiful bait comes through. Now Gorilla Jones holding 3 members mid while this Baron's taken.
Once again, the gentlemanly Nard says, I will hold you here. Let me serve you some tea while my team gathers the objective. At this point, OC feel like they have everything. All they don't have is a soul. And the soul can come later if they so wish. A 5-1-10 Emps in the mid lane. An 0-3-5 Paralysis. A 4-0-6 Zeri on a Josie. And then, of course, it is, Trinket to round it out at 0-2-5. And then Gorilla Jones. 7-2. Like, literally everyone playing so well today.
And I really want to see OC maximize this Baron push that they have right now. We talked about the fact that, hey, Nar can split push. It is a little bit risky, but when you've got Baron, even if they send the Talia for you, if you've pulled enough people, the rest of your team can still take turrets. As you said, the Dragon can wait till later. I really don't think it's that big a priority, but we are seeing a push 2-2 and 1 split right now. To me, this is less about actually pushing in and more about getting full control over the spot side of the map.
Get yourselves in a good spot. Make sure Josie is safe. Make sure the rest of the team is set to go. Ah, Trinket. Cheeky. Trying to play that clone status, try and be a little bit annoying, but that's going to call a little bit of a bait for the backside. Pluto is going to get the pinch, and now's that shove, and it looks like the Shockwave is going to draw 2 in, but guess who's coming around the side? The cleanup is just too real, and Josie comes in for the kills. Nightstar is nowhere to be found. It's a wash of death, and the same spot again. OC claim the team fight.
I'm still just left puzzled. Where was Nightstar in that fight? Jimmy, why are we kicking off without your carry? Once again, sure, you get Emps. Good and well, but what happens to the rest of that fight at that point? You have no sustained damage. Gorilla Jones 1v1ing right now and doesn't even drop at the end of it.
The Kings have fallen, a new one reigns supreme, and OC fly their way to a 3-0 Grand Finals victory. They are your NECC League of Legends champions.
Oh, bro, from a brand new team in the span of 1 year, from learning how to work together to now being NECC champions and winning against Kings, no less, completing your full revenge tour, even within this split orbital. The growth from this squad has been incredible, and props to them.
Every time, this entire series, it is by no measure that we say Grandview is a team to beat. They have a very storied history. Yes, tonight was not their best showing. They're still GVU. At the end of the day, if you slip up too far, things go wrong. OC, I am wholly impressed with what I saw today, and you mentioned it before. This roster that was built around this bot lane, I would even say they didn't even have to force that spotlight anywhere. It felt like everything just kind of fell into place in that game 3. This team is very, very scary for future postseason playoffs or wherever else they go here this season.
Yeah, I mean, with this, they've already secured their ticket to the NECC Nationals, right, Orbital? So we'll still get to see them again in Texas with the NECC Nationals playing there. Grandview, of course, have their ticket punched to that event as well. And honestly, Orbital, I look at this series too. Everybody got their time to shine, right? In game 1, we really got to see sort of Emps dive in there, and we got to see the bot lane really pop off. Josu and Paralysis with that Jinx came on incredibly early. We talk about her as a late game champion, but Josu and Paralysis made that Jinx feel like a mid-game champion. Game 2, we got to see Trinket pop off with that Belva, just rolling over everybody. And here in this last game, Gorilla Jones redeems his first 2 games with this Gnar that looked completely unstoppable. Even at the end there, going toe-to-toe with Nightstar, went mini, no problem. Like, just still won that out. This entire team is the real package, Orbital, and there's no one person you can focus and just say, okay, this is exploitable weak point. No. You can't say, oh, this lane doesn't play carries, we can pick a skiller here. No. There are carries in every single role. Jungle all the way down, or top, pardon me, all the way down, even to support, where Paralysis was tanking everybody in their mothers to start some of these fights.
If you ever seen an Alistar live on 25% HP with Unbreakable, it feels kind of bad if you're the opponent. You ever see a Gnar get a quadra kill in between a fight that I probably shouldn't have? It feels pretty bad. OC, crown to you, the champions here tonight, and we'll see you all at Nationals. Same thing for GVU. They're going to try their medal, I believe, as they have also punched their ticket. They're going to look for revenge of their own. At the same time, though, the finals of the regular season are going to continue throughout. Maybe not with League of Legends, though. Tomorrow will be Overwatch 2, so make sure to tune in. Stay tuned to the social medias, as those matches will be announced later tomorrow. But for tonight, we thank you so much for tuning in. I know we started a little bit later, so we appreciate everyone who did tune in. My name is Orbital. With me is, of course, Random Minion Caster and our production Hippie, as well as Brady on the observation. We thank you so much for tuning into tonight's series. Have a good one.